The morning started the way most mornings had lately for Maria Alvarez, with a knot in her stomach, and a silent prayer whispered while her children still slept. The small apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the old refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic waking up the city. Maria sat at the tiny kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a chipped mug of coffee she barely tasted. 3 months earlier, she had lost her job at the hotel laundry when the owner shut down unexpectedly. Since then, every day felt like a careful balancing act between bills, groceries, and hope. She never imagined that this morning would end inside a courtroom, standing before a judge whose decision would change her life. Maria moved softly as she woke her 2 kids, 8-year-old Sophia and 5-year-old Lucas. She dressed them, packed their school bags, and forced a smile even though her chest felt heavy. The car was their lifeline: school, grocery store, job interviews, doctor visits. Without it, everything fell apart. As she opened the apartment door and stepped into the cold air of the parking lot, her heart dropped. A bright yellow boot clamped tightly around the front tire of her aging sedan seemed to scream at her. For a moment, she just stood there, frozen, staring as if it might disappear if she didn't acknowledge it. The children noticed immediately. Sophia's eyes widened, and Lucas tugged at Maria's coat. "Mom, what's that?" he asked. Maria swallowed hard, crouching down to their level. She explained gently that Mommy had some parking tickets she hadn't been able to pay yet, and the city had locked the car. She tried to keep her voice steady, but it cracked anyway. The kids didn't fully understand, but they understood enough to feel the fear. Sophia hugged her brother, and that simple act nearly broke Maria. She called the number on the bright sticker, already knowing what they would say. The balance was over $600 tickets that had piled up quietly, while rent and food took priority. To get the boot removed, she had to either pay in full or go to traffic court. $600 might as well have been $6 million. Her hands trembled as she hung up the phone. There was only one option left. That day, Maria borrowed bus fare from a neighbor and took her kids to school late, apologizing to the secretary with burning cheeks. Then she made her way to traffic court, clutching a worn folder filled with old pay stubs, unemployment paperwork, and rejection emails from job applications. The courthouse felt cold and overwhelming, its tall walls echoing with footsteps and murmured conversations. Maria took a seat, her knees bouncing nervously as she waited for her name to be called. When it finally was, she stepped forward, heart pounding. The judge sat calmly at the bench. Judge Frank Caprio, known to many as firm but compassionate. Maria had seen short clips of him online, but standing there in person felt entirely different. She raised her right hand, was sworn in, and faced him, suddenly very aware of how small she felt. Judge Caprio looked down at her file, then up at her. His voice was gentle but direct. "Ms. Alvarez, you have several unpaid parking tickets, and your vehicle was booted this morning." Maria took a breath, fighting the urge to cry. She spoke slowly at first, then faster as the words spilled out about losing her job, about raising 2 kids alone since their father left years ago, about choosing between paying tickets and buying groceries. She explained how she was actively looking for work, how the car was essential, how that boot felt like the final blow after months of trying to stay afloat. The courtroom was quiet as she spoke. Judge Caprio listened without interrupting, his expression thoughtful. When she finished, he leaned back slightly and folded his hands. "Ms. Alvarez," he said, "I want you to know something. This court exists to enforce the law. Yes, but it also exists to do justice. And justice means understanding people's circumstances." He asked her a few more questions about her job search, about her children, about whether she had any income at all right now. Maria answered honestly, her voice shaking but clear. She admitted she had fallen behind, but not because she didn't care. Because she simply couldn't keep up. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. "You didn't wake up one day and decide to ignore the law," he said. "You were trying to survive." He paused, then added softly, "And you're doing that for your children." Maria's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed, but the judge waved it away gently. "It's okay," he said. "This is hard." He looked down at the clerk, then back at Maria. "Here's what we're going to do," he said. "I'm ordering that the boot be removed from your vehicle today." Maria gasped quietly, her hands flying to her mouth. Before she could even process it, he continued, "As for the tickets, I'm going to dismiss a portion of them and reduce the rest to an amount you can manage once you're back on your feet." The words barely felt real. Maria stood there, stunned, as if she might wake up at any second. "Judge, thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. Judge Caprio smiled kindly. "This is your fresh start," he said. "But I want you to promise me something." "Yes," she said quickly. "Anything." "I want you to keep pushing forward," he said. "Keep looking for work. Take care of those kids. And when you can, do the right thing. Deal?" Maria nodded through tears. "Deal, I promise." As she left the courtroom, her legs felt weak, but her heart felt lighter than it had in months. Outside, she called the boot removal office, barely able to explain through her emotions that the judge had ordered it released. When she finally made it back to the parking lot later that afternoon and saw the boot being taken off her car, she broke down, again this time from relief. That evening, Maria picked up her kids from school in the car, something she hadn't been sure would ever happen again. Sophia noticed immediately. "The car works again," she asked, hopeful. Maria smiled, a real smile, and nodded. Yes, baby. The judge helped us. At home, over a simple dinner of rice and beans, Maria told them that sometimes people understand, that sometimes help comes when you least expect it. The kids didn't know Judge Caprio's name would one day mean so much to their mother, but they knew this mom wasn't crying anymore. Weeks later, Maria landed a new job at a local clinic, steady hours and better pay than before. The road ahead was still long, but it no longer felt impossible. Every time she got into her car, she thought about that courtroom. That moment when someone in power chose compassion over punishment. For Maria, it wasn't just about a boot being removed. It was about dignity restored, about being seen not as a case number, but as a human being doing her best. And for the first time in a long time, she believed, truly believed, that a fresh start wasn't just a phrase. It was real.